A multi-ton steel hull groans under the relentless blows of the elements, while just 3 centimeters of hardened steel separate the cabin from the abyss. In the open ocean, there are no safety lanes, and the distance between domestic comfort and a cold grave is measured solely by a margin of safety. Today, we will chart a course through icy hell, narrowing tropical straits, and shores where ships become permanently embedded in sand dunes. But remember that the most dangerous route on this list looks like a perfectly serene, turquoise mirror. And by the very end, you will understand why it claims the most lives. Our first route lies at the very edge of the planet, where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans mercilessly collide. In the Drake Passage, there is no landmass to slow down the storm force winds circling the globe. Air masses gathering speed for weeks turn the ocean water into a chaotic, boiling cauldron. Waves here do not roll in even rows. Instead, they slam into each other from different angles, spawning rogue waves as tall as an 8-story building. For captains of giant container ships, crossing this stretch becomes a grueling test of metal fatigue. The massive steel hull of the vessel flexes over giant swells like a thin willow branch. Every few minutes, the propellers plunge completely into thin air, causing the multi-thousand horsepower engine to roar deafeningly at idle speed. Here, the margin of error is measured by a single second of delay when turning the wheel to face an oncoming crest. Should the captain expose the ship's beam to such a wave even briefly, the multi-ton vessel will instantly roll onto its side. That is precisely why the Drake Passage remains the ultimate physical test for any sailor on Earth. While giant waves destroy ships in southern latitudes, the primary deadly threat in the Bering Sea creeps up completely unheard. Local storm winds carry a freezing mist that turns to solid ice instantly upon touching cold metal. Mariners call this phenomenon flash freezing, and it is capable of destroying a vessel in a matter of hours. Ton after heavy ton of ice accumulates on masts, the bridge, cables, and upper open decks. Due to the colossal weight of ice above, the vessel's center of gravity relentlessly creeps upward. At that moment, a stable ship transforms into a dangerous, top-heavy hazard ready to capsize at the slightest tilt. The crew's only salvation becomes grueling and exhausting manual labor in the biting cold. Sailors are forced to step out into searing gale-force winds and manually chip ice crusts off the rigging using sledgehammers. Any misstep on the icy deck means an immediate fall into pitch-black water with temperatures hovering near freezing. The freezing waters of the Bering Sea afford a person who falls overboard no more than 3 minutes to survive. From the freezing northern latitudes, we move to the humid tropics of Southeast Asia, home to the Strait of Malacca. This narrow maritime corridor serves as a vital bottleneck for global trade, carrying a quarter of the world's sea cargo. Imagine an endless multi-lane highway crowded with thousands of massive trucks driving simultaneously without brakes. At its narrowest points, the shipping channel is only about 2 kilometers wide, with visibility often completely cut off by tropical downpours. For a modern supertanker with a deep draft, barely 2 to 3 meters of clearance remain beneath its keel. A single wrong turn of the wheel or an instantaneous electronic glitch can throw a massive ship onto the shoals. The situation is severely compounded by sharp and unpredictable shifts in underwater sand deposits. Hundreds of small fishing boats crossing the shipping lanes chaotically pose an additional hazard to safe maneuvering. In the stillness of the night, swift pirate skiffs frequently dart out from coastal mangrove thickets to intercept cargo vessels. Under these conditions, the bridge operates at the absolute limit of human endurance, and crews go without sleep for days. The Namibian Skeleton Coast is infamous among mariners as a place where surviving on land guarantees an even more gruesome death. In this region, the icy Benguela Current collides with the scorching, dry air of the Namib Desert. This physical reaction generates a dense, impenetrable fog over the ocean surface for hundreds of days a year. A powerful coastal current quietly sweeps passing ships directly toward shifting sandbars. Blind ocean swells catch the disoriented vessel and firmly ground it on shoals just a few hundred meters from shore. Even if the storm fails to break the hull and sailors manage to reach land, their ordeal is only just beginning. Stepping onto the shore, survivors find thousands of kilometers of scorching, utterly barren dunes stretching out before them. For hundreds of miles around, there is not a single source of fresh water or human habitation. Rusted and decaying hulls of ancient and modern ships still protrude from the Namibian sand to this day. This location proves that the ocean knows not only how to drown ships, but also how to lure humans into a fatal land trap. The Cook Strait divides New Zealand's North and South Islands and is considered one of the world's most unpredictable waterways. High mountain ranges on both sides of the strait form a natural and powerful wind tunnel. Any passing wind is compressed by the cliffs and amplified to hurricane storm force. Additional danger is created by fierce tidal currents meeting directly in the center of the narrow passage. The waters of the Tasman Sea and the Pacific Ocean collide here with differing speeds and tidal heights. As a result of this violent clash, the water in the strait literally boils, giving rise to rogue whirlpools and standing waves. Ocean currents within the strait are capable of completely reversing their direction in a matter of minutes. Even modern 150-meter vehicle ferries regularly lose steerage here and end up drifting helplessly. In poor weather, visibility instantly drops to zero due to a constant wall of sea spray and low-hanging clouds. Navigating the Cook Strait requires captains to possess a masterclass knowledge of local tides and split-second reactions to wind gusts. Rocky Cape Horn, at the southernmost tip of South America, rightfully holds the unofficial title of the ocean's Mount Everest. For sailors during the era of sail, successfully rounding this cape was considered the ultimate heroic feat. At this point, the ocean floor rises abruptly from a depth of 4 kilometers to a mere couple of dozen meters. This massive shelf drop creates a tremendous hydraulic shock effect on incoming ocean waves. Upon striking the underwater continental shelf, abyssal swells morph into steep, vertical walls of churning water. Relentless gale-force winds drive these walls of water southward toward the sharp coastal cliffs. In centuries past, sailing ships could fight against headwind swells for months without ever making it past the ill-fated cape. Hundreds of crews turned back with sails shredded to ribbons and masts completely snapped. Beneath the waves near this grim cliff lie thousands of sunken ships and tens of thousands of perished sailors. Even today, with modern navigators and powerful diesel engines, rounding Cape Horn makes any captain's heart contract. Now the time has come to reveal the main promise made at the very beginning of today's video. The most dangerous and treacherous route turns out to be not a roaring, storm-swept ocean, but the quiet Goodwin Sands in England. This 10-kilometer sandbank is located in the English Channel, right off the bustling British coast. On a clear, sunny day, the water here appears incredibly transparent, turquoise, and completely safe. Yet beneath this idyllic, mirror-like surface lies a giant layer of active quicksand. Driven by powerful tidal currents, these sandbanks constantly shift their shape and topography. A skipper who lowers their guard on smooth water grounds the vessel gently and almost imperceptibly onto the submerged sand. At low tide, the heavy ship settles deep into the saturated sand mass under its own weight. When the tide returns, the mixture of sand and seawater transforms into dense liquid concrete that exerts immense suction pressure. Throughout maritime history, these quiet, crystal-clear waters have swallowed more than 2,000 ships into the sandy abyss. The ultimate lesson of all these deadly routes is that the ocean is most dangerous during moments of deceptive calm. In a storm, a sailor is fully focused, and their margin of safety is calculated down to the millimeter. True disaster strikes when a person loses fear and stops respecting the hidden power of the water. Tell us in the comments which of these routes terrified you the most. Subscribe to the channel and see you next time.